Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a fun 11-game slate here in the NBA for you guys tonight. In this one, we are taking a look at Philly, headed to Indy to take on those Pacers. We like points tonight. Probably Philly to win, but we'll talk about that in this one with you guys. Make sure you check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Got 3 game videos up for you on this big slate, as well as that player props video we love to bring you each and every weekday. And make sure you head to thelines.com as well, checking out those odds checkers that we have for you. Make sure you're getting the best juice available from odds makers out there. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Whoa! I don't like Philly to win. Don't you put that evil on me? Okay. I mean, yeah, they're 12-point favorites in Indy, but considering what we said last time we saw them, that the Pistons had covered routinely and they straight up lost to the Pistons, definitely not the team you want to trust right now, unless it comes to taking advantage of a terrible defense and becoming a front-running team, because that is what James Harden-led teams do. But we'll explain more about that in a minute. We're going to look at these other 10 games. The Cavs minus 8.5 at Orlando. Hawks are +4 at Raptors. Interesting matchup between hot teams heading into the playoffs. Rockets are +17 at Brooklyn with a 243 total there, as those teams have been playing all sorts of silly ball. Hornets +5.5 at Miami. The Blazers are +4 at the Thunder. Bucks -4.5 at Chicago. We break that one down for you in one of our other videos. Wizards +11 at the Wolves. The Spurs without DeJounte +7 at Denver. Grizz +5 at Utah. We will also bring you a video on that. And then the Pelicans -8 at the Kings. I mean, the Sixers, since that loss against the Pistons, have kind of corrected the ship in terms of unleashing Harden a little more, or, getting him back into a rhythm, maybe adjusting the way they play to get him some confidence back. Because, I mean, it's some out of context comments from Doc Rivers, again, almost lumping Harden into the same bus as Ben Simmons, where they asked him, like, was it the reserves not fitting along with James, or did they do something with James? And he's like, well, James just missed shots. Like, James just needs to play better. And I mean, he has, and the Sixers have won consecutive games here with excellent offensive numbers, a 128 rating, 30.5 assists, 31.5 free throws, getting back to the line, and hitting 16 triples at a 43% rate. So, I mean, that should spell great things against the Pacers team that's just giving up points in droves. In their last 4 in particular, a 128 defensive rating, allowing 120, coming right back with Tyrese Halliburton leading the charge with a 123 offensive rating. And their 3-point defense has just been woeful in their last 5. They're giving up 45.5%, along with a league high 32 assists and a league high 128 points in that span. So, I mean, we're trying to forecast the team totals here because they're not up yet as we record on Monday night. And trying to do the math here, I mean, how is Philly going to be projected to score about 120, 121? They're favored by 12, and Indy's got to be projected to score like 116. So why is this total 231 is basically what I'm wondering. It should be about 238 or so. Indy has not really gone below that total. I mean, they have gotten blown out by some teams like the Grizzlies that can absolutely lock it down. Toronto as well. But those other teams, they each scored 130 to blow out the Pacers. And now the Pacers are playing with much better offensive efficiency, as Tyrese Halliburton is coming off a freaking career night against the Celtics. Then he drops 17 dimes in a loss against the Pistons. He happened to go for 38 points and 11 assists in Philly on January 29th, one of his last games with the Kings. Malcolm Brogdon could play tonight. He's just been out resting, but this is the kind of spot where you would expect a veteran to come out, try to play a little spoiler. He also has good numbers against the Sixers. And look, I mean, the Pacers, they play with pace. They play pretty bad, pretty good on offense and pretty awful on defense. So they've gone over in 26 of their last 37. So they're a team you can rely on. And the Sixers, when they play a bad team, they had gone over in 5 straight against losing teams prior to that Pistons game where they just forgot to get off the bus. So I think you look at that and they're over in 4 of their last 5 against the Pacers. I think we definitely feel good about over here. And again, I would take it up to 234 or higher because I think both these teams are going to score around 120, to be honest. And I think the Pacers are going to cover. If you ask me which thing is going to happen, I don't see the Sixers being a confident team to cover 12 points right now.
Yeah, I don't want to bet on them right now either. It's funny. It's like Philly and Brooklyn are kind of sort of they're the amount that they scare the Eastern Conference teams right now at the top is waning hugely. And really, for me, the reason it's interesting, it's the inverse of each other. Brooklyn's struggling to find anybody to help Kyrie and KD score. And the all-star, the superstar allegedly on Philly is really dictating whether or not they have a good game on offense or not. And he's just so inconsistent right now that it's kind of tough. I mean, his game log since he's come here, I'm not in Philadelphia, since he went to Philadelphia, it's just all over the place. And it's in part because he is trying to fill up those other stats, right? I mean, if you're betting on him combining his rebounds and assists each game, I mean, he's averaging, close to, if not 20 combined rebounds and assists in, roughly 65% of the games that he's been playing this, with Philly this season. So it's just they're at the same time, they need him to score. There aren't, now that they don't have the shooters that they had, and even if you want to consider Andre Drummond, someone who would get you 8 to 12 points of just cleaning up garbage on the offensive side of the board glass when Embiid was down, that was another, at least, sort of, like I said, 8 to 12 points a game they could rely on. Without the shooting of Seth Curry outside right now, Korkmaz, they can't even really get him back into the lineup. He's shooting so poorly. It's honestly same with Danny Green, who, if you're really waiting on Danny Green to be the guy to save you right now, it's he's also sort of at the tail end of his career in a way that he's just not going to bring you the same level of consistency and efficiency. My point is there's not enough shooting around James and Embiid right now for James Harden to just say, I don't need to worry about getting into the lane and getting my points. I'm going to go ahead and just try and dime it up. It's not going to, in my opinion, not going to be how this works out for them. And really, if you look at the games where he's failing to score in the major points, that's where he's really struggling in terms of his plus minus, which isn't obviously everyone's favorite statistic, but his impact on the court is sort of being really, it's correlated to the amount of points that he scores when he's relying, like I said, not only just relying on rebounds and assists, but you look at the field goal attempts that he's taking in these games where he doesn't have really the plus minus that you expect of him. I mean, in the last 2 games that he scored at least 29 points, let's say, against Milwaukee, as well as against the Clippers, his plus minus there is plus 31 over 2 games. Then you look at the games where he's scoring, roughly 13 points, 17 points, what have you. It's down back around -1, even +2, +3. So there's a clear correlation between the amount of points that he is putting up, the amount of field goal attempts that he's taking, and their ability to score offense. So I think you made a great point that they've ramped up their pace in the last couple because they are trying to get Harden going. They are trying to put the ball in his hands and allow him to do what he wants on offense and really go down and get the shot that he wants in the first, 10, 12 seconds of the shot clock, rather than wait for him to just dribble. They're getting into their offense quicker. They're getting that screen and roll so he can get the matchup he wants to still, unfortunately, take step back threes a little too often. But at least he is getting into the lane a little bit more and actually getting those shot attempts up. And I think that's the trend that continues tonight. And I'm predicting that the more that they put the ball in his hands for shot attempts and increase that usage rate, that's where their offense continues to go. And I just think their defense is not really anything that has you feeling good about it enough anyway against a team like the Pacers, who's going to continue to play at a pace of 102, 103 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers are an exciting team with Halliburton at the helm, and they can score, as we just saw in Boston. They kept up right until the end of the fourth quarter, so I'm not too worried, about that Sixers defense. While they have kept the points down because of the slow pace, when they ramp it up, they will go over. And Harden has had success against Indy. Of course, his last trip to Indy was very impressive at the end of last season, a 40-point triple-double and then he kind of loafed to 18 points because he was already starting to quit on the Nets in January. So he can find success against this team. And yeah, you talk about the Sixers' lack of shooting, and it is a real issue since this trade. But the quality of shots that the Pacers are giving up right now, it's cake. It's like facing a bad zone in a rec league. I mean, anybody can hit these shots, and the Sixers and plus the Pacers go up the second most paint points, and they're giving up the sixth most points to centers. I mean, Embiid obviously going to get his whenever he wants against this team with no Miles Turner in there. Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson, the young guys, are going to have their hands full for sure. And this is the situation where the Sixers cover the most when they're road favorites, 15-7 to the over this season. They do win against teams below 500, so I have no problem taking the money line and the over here. But I am not touching a 12-point spread right now with this team as inconsistent as they've been.
Hell no. Same concept as when we saw the Pistons cover against the Nets the other night with a 12, 13-point spread. It was just like, look, man, no one's saying the Pacers are going to win this game. But we're also saying I think it's more likely they lose by less than 13 than more by 13. That's my personal opinion. And that comes from a lack of seemingly effort on the defensive end for Philly. Certainly a lack of effort around the rim in terms of rebounding, as they've been in the bottom 3 rebounding all season. Every time we look at that stat, I think it's sort of just over a sample size of games. But no, it's the whole season. They're one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, and definitely didn't get better once they gave up Andre Drummond. I think I don't love the lack of shooting around them, but to your point, Harden's going to get to his spots on the floor. Anybody really is going to get to their spots on the floor. So if anybody can hit shots outside of Embiid and Harden tonight, this will be the night that they're going to likely be able to go off a little bit more. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. It might not be the sexiest game tonight, but there's some money to be made at the way that this total is a little bit too low right now at 230 and a half, 231. If you could even get it up another 3 points, I think we still feel good about taking the over there. So make sure you like to subscribe to that page and check out all 3 game videos we have up for you today, including as well as on top of that, our player props video we love to bring you each and every weekday. And until we see you next, happy betting.